Good evening and welcome to Signs of Destiny 2004. I'm Dr. Chet Snow and I'll be your host for this weekend along with my wife Callista, who will come up, and if you haven't seen her yet, I want you to see her this evening. And you will see that she dressed especially for tonight in her best Mayan affair. Thank you, dear. We would not be here tonight without all of Callista's hard work and everything that she has done in supporting this event. And I know I'm a better person for having her. To keep going, there are a couple of things about a couple of announcements before we actually start the program this evening. In your packets, which you should have received at the registration table, there is a white paper that you're invited to read by Carl John Kalleman from Sweden, who couldn't be here this weekend, but who wanted to participate by having this sort of statement of his views on the road to the year 2012. And we're honored to have his latest book on the Mayan calendar at the back table that was prefaced by Jose Arguelles. So do, if you have any time during the weekend, have a chance to read Carl Johan Kalleman's most interesting work. It's a little different than the other presentations that we'll be having here, but nonetheless deserves a hearing and it should be looked at. I also want to remind people that we not only have the program in our main hall here this weekend, but starting tomorrow morning, we will be having optional workshops that are upstairs. The workshops are set up so that essentially they do follow the main program downstairs. In other words, we will stop at a certain point downstairs in between speakers, and those that want to go up to the workshop can go upstairs. The first workshop will be tomorrow morning with our first speaker, actually, who will speak first down here, and then we'll go upstairs to run her workshop, who will be Francine Blake, the head of the Wiltshire Crop Circle Study Group in England. I'm going to ask that the lights come up just a little bit, Ted, because I'm going to be introducing the speakers. After that, I'll turn them down. Okay? Just on this side, if we can, just this group right here. It's the next, yeah, that right there. That's pretty good. Okay. We also have some vendor exhibitor tables upstairs, and I will be introducing those people during the conference time, so you will all get a chance to see them. And I do urge you to go up there and see. They have some very interesting products for sale as well upstairs at that time. Finally, we have the massage therapist who is down here in the main room in the back, but is my right corner, your left corner, who will do chair massage during the lectures. So you don't have to miss any of the wonderful presentations we'll be having, but you can also kind of ease those aching muscles. And believe me, her appointments start to get more and more filled as the weekend goes on, because sitting in these hotel chairs is not always the best thing for your spine, etc., for your body. Finally, we have some free literature tables here, and there will be another one upstairs. And if you are registered at the conference and you do have something you want to put out for people, please put it on one of those tables. We got asked about a message board, and the truth is that's a nice idea, but maybe next year. We just don't have the room right here, and it's too difficult to set that up at the last minute. But that is a good idea, and we will consider it for next year. Okay. Before I introduce the speakers and the exhibitors, I know many of you are aware of John Mack, Dr. John Mack, the pioneering researcher into UFO and abductions and all of those other aspects of alternate reality, and his tragic death in England recently. And we have decided, my wife and I, that we will dedicate this weekend to his memory. He was certainly a pioneer in this field, and no doubt would have been one of our future speakers had he still been available for us. He was just getting interested in crop circles, and in fact this summer he spent some time with a mutual friend, Sean Randall from Los Angeles, who is here tonight and wants to read a short statement that was written about John Mack by our very well-known author and a very good friend of ours as well, John Michel from England. So I'm going to ask Sean to come up first, and we will, when she finishes, please do not applaud. We will just have a 10 seconds of silence. That is our dedication to his memory and all the wonderful work that he has done in this field.
Thank you very much, Chet. I really know John would be very honored about this. He and I became real good friends this summer, and very humbled man. This that John Michel has written is a result of a conversation they had that I was privy to a couple months ago. And it's not just about John Mack, but it was very much about the spirit of what he tried to convey. So it is going to be about 4 minutes long. I did edit it a little bit, though, but there's a good payoff at the ending here. Closer, okay. It's called A Professor of Alien Abductions. Back in the 20th century, when we were all younger, I wrote here about alien abductions and mentioned dear old John Mack. He was the Harvard professor of psychiatry who investigated UFO abductees and then was himself investigated by other Harvard professors. They charged him with discrediting science and betraying his colleagues. Instead of trying to cure the abductees of their delusions, he listened to their stories and he assured them that they were not alone in having such experiences. Something traumatic had happened to them, obscene and frightening in many cases, but something always enlightening and always with that similar effect. Those who had had the experience were deeply marked by it. Their perceptions were altered and they saw the spiritual side of nature, and often they developed psychic powers. I met Mack for the last time this summer at the annual end-of-the-season Crop Circle Conference in Glastonbury, where he was the celebrity speaker. In the bar room of the George and Pilgrim, surrounded by his admirers, he put forth wit and wisdom. Unlike your average great man, he was mild, modest, and attentive to others, and at 75, his mind was sharp and receptive. Mack's book on Lawrence of Arabia, A Prince of Our Disorder, had won him a Pulitzer Prize. One reason for Mack's journey to England was to visit Patrick Harpur. One of Harpur's books, Daemonic Reality, provided Mack with the way of thinking that he needed to make sense of his data on alien abductions. Harpur's daemons belong to an invisible realm or dimension that parallels our physical reality and intersects with it. They range from gods and angels to local spirits, impish tricksters, and at the dark end, the demons of hell and madness. In all ages and cultures up to our own, the effective presence of these entities has been recognized without question. In modern times, we have done our best to obliterate them. Science and religion find common ground in suppressing the irrational, amoral world of spirits. Mack's training in psychiatry had taught him a basic truth, however, that whatever you expel from your mind insists upon returning. Alien abductions, he began to realize, are like crop circles and cattle mutilations, corrective intrusions from another realm. This uprising of spirit against the dominance of materialism was regarded by John Mack as overdue and welcome. That is the general view among those who observe the process. But it is not, or not yet, the majority view, and I'm not surprised. Think of all the effort that went into expelling demons, fairies, and incubi and the like from our own country, England. An early English poem describes the campaign. Young priests, pardoners, were sent out to pray in every house and haunted spot throughout the kingdom. They got rid of tiresome spirits that were no more like alien, they were no more called alien, they were like alien abductions, which in those days were attributed to fairies. Women, said the poet, may now go safely up and down thanks to the pardoners. But he added, they should watch out for those young pardoners who are just as bad as the incubi they have driven out. John Michel. Yeah.
Thank you. So let's just have 10 seconds, please, to honor John's memory. I'm sure he's in spirit with us tonight, right here. Well, we have a really wonderful program this weekend, one that has been near and dear to my heart for some time, as I mentioned when introducing Jose Arguelles this afternoon at his institute, because I first got interested in the concept of 2012 and the Mayan calendar back in 1987 when I read Jose's The Mayan Factor and was very influenced by it and actually celebrated the harmonic convergence, which was in August of 1987 over in France. And in fact, it's very interesting because it is one of the first events of that kind that my wife and I actually ever celebrated together, even though we were not together as a couple at that time. It was a very, very unusual weekend, as I recall it. They had a Scirocco wind that came to southern France across from Africa, and it was blowing sand. So we were in a sandstorm in the area of the Mediterranean while we were celebrating. It did seem like certainly great portents and changes were about to come upon us at that time. Now, tonight, our program includes first, and I'm going to ask the speakers just to stand up, not to applaud them, and then we will have a round of applause when they've all finished, when everyone has been standing. So some of the speakers may not be here tonight. There were a couple of plane delays and problems, but they'll be here for tomorrow. Our first speaker this evening will be Clarice Connor, clairvoyant. Then tonight's major keynote address will be John Major Jenkins. So John, okay. Then in the morning, as I mentioned, we will have Francine Blake of the Wiltshire Crop Circle Study Group, who will then do her workshop. Our second speaker of the morning will be Michael Peter Langevin of Magical Blend Magazine. Unfortunately, he can't be here tonight. He'll be here later, be in the morning. Then we have a special guest that we added to the program because of the really importance of the message that he is bringing to us, a message of hope about the future, and that is John English from here in Phoenix, who has written a really, really interesting book called The Shift. You'll see it back in the bookstore. He will be just before lunch tomorrow. Then after lunch, we have Jeff Wilson, who's here from Ohio and who will be talking about the crop circles. He's in the middle of the room, I see. Crop circles of the USA in the last several years. Followed by Alan Brown from England, who will be talking about the philosopher's secret fire and the sacred geometry of crop circles. Then Mayan elder Flor de Mayo, who will speak late Saturday afternoon. She also is taking session appointments upstairs and has a table in one of the vendor areas upstairs next to the workshop room. Flor de Mayo, you definitely want to see her during the weekend if you have anything spiritual, physical, that you need to be healed, because she is really curandera extraordinaria. And then in the evening will be Jose Arguelles, our keynote speaker tomorrow night. Then on Sunday we will have Dr. Louis Turi, who will start out the morning with his dragon predictions from Nostradamus for 2005. He will then do a workshop upstairs after that. At that time, we will have William Henry here in the main room. William, who will do a workshop at the end of the afternoon on Sunday. We also have Jeff, Alan's going to do a workshop too, excuse me, I missed that one. Jeff Stray, who will be right after the lunch break on Sunday talking about beyond 2012. Is it game over or next level? After that will be Nancy Talbot. Is Nancy here? I don't think she got back from Sedona. Sometimes that happens. They get swept up into a vortex when they go up to Sedona. And so, but Nancy will be here by Sunday. She guaranteed me that. And she will be here Sunday afternoon to talk on the scientific research into crop circles and also some extraordinary personal information that she has brought from Holland, where she has been visiting. After her talk and the music by Robin Miller, we will have Bert Jansen, also from Holland, who is going to tell us about crop circles and the countdown to 2012. Bert has a brand new book that's just been published that is on the book table about hypnosis and crop circles. very, very interesting about hypnotic use of crop circles. And then I will close the conference at the end of Sunday afternoon, talking not just about crop circles, but on the countdown to 2012, but really doing somewhat of a retrospective on some of my personal crop circles, my personal favorite of crop circles over the last 14 years. In between all of this, we will have extraordinary music by Thunderbeat tonight and also tomorrow, and Robin Miller, who couldn't be here tonight, on Sunday as well. So that is our program, and I want you to give a good round of applause to all of our speakers. Thank you, and I thank you. Now, before that, there were maybe 5 or 6 people had signed up, and by the end of Friday night after her talk, the sheet was full. So I know that interesting predictions and talk tonight on divine symbols and our future. This lady from California is a natural clairvoyant, born that way, I understand. She has always had that ability to see beyond the veil. She impressed us so much over the telephone when we first met her in 2003, and if you recall, in early 2003, I was going through some pretty important and serious problems health-wise, and she gave me some fascinating and very important information about that, and it was very useful and very pragmatic and spot on, as they say in England as well. And so we invited her to come to speak at Signs of Destiny 2003. We definitely wanted to have her back after that event, and I certainly hope she'll be with us even next year, because we have always found her advice to be, as I say, sound, practical, spot on, and of great merit and value. Clarice Connor.
Hello, everybody. I can't see you, but I know you can see me. I want to thank Dr. Snow. And I'll try to get this thing where you can hear me, but if not, I move around, so forgive me. Callista, thank you for helping Chet and being our cheerleader all through all of this. And thanks to all the staff that's helping to make this happen. And thanks to all of you because you got here. Well, I had a hard time getting here. There's now a security guard in Sacramento, California that's trying to figure out why a lady that has a laptop and looks like a businesswoman had glitter gel in her briefcase. That poor man stood there and just shook his head. Well, I didn't know you're supposed to take the laptop out in the separate little vial or, little transporter. But now I know, so I won't miss the next airplane because security had me held hostage. But anyway, I'm here to talk to you tonight about sacred symbols. And I want to explain that any symbol that you value has a sacred right to be with you, around you, or in you. A lot of times we believe that symbols are only outside of ourselves, and we forget that we are part of the great architect, the great designer. We forget that everything that's all about is within us. We forget that we are that divine spark, that sparkling shimmer of light. When I was meditating about coming here, what I saw was this whole place full of liquid, shimmering, golden, blue beings. This place is full of it. Each one of you has a very special gift, a very special push to develop, to get out into the world, whatever it is you're about, and learning to access your own history. Not just a collective history, what's your history? Look at the symbolic meanings of things around you, and you can very quickly get to where you need to be. But if you ignore your own personal symbols, then it would be real easy to ignore the symbols in your world around you. You won't notice, if you don't believe that, how many people know what phase is your moon in today? What's going on in the world around us? What's the next door neighbor doing? Did he forget to leave the lawnmower here and it's in your driveway? Be attentive to detail, in particular in 2005, because there will be a lot of details to those people that are willing to look, listen, and put it all together, distill it down into your own meaning, into your own interpretation. Since primitive people were drawing on the cave walls, we have had a natural push, a natural desire that is innate to know, to learn, and to be one with the great isness. You know, the business is the isness. And sometimes we forget that we all are still primitive. We have that heritage, that lineage, that wonderful foundation to stand upon, even though we do live in a world of computer technology and the wonderful things that are happening now, new things. But we must remember where we came from. Really absorb all that you can, as if tomorrow there would be no book, no one else outside yourself to remind you of what has happened that is wonderful, valuable, incredibly great about humanity. Describe the world around yourself in a symbolic form. If you're an artist, paint it. If you are the designer, glass it. Put it together. Let these energies move through, out, and into the world. If you don't, you may have a little bit of a psychic side effect. Everything is really being amplified. All of our energies are being pushed to open up and to be more. If you crunch it all down, you can have problems with your love life. You can have problems with your car. You can have feedback. You can have all kinds of different energetic problems. But by knowing that you are the co-creator here, you know, you don't have to be a victim. You can use your humor to offset any negatives, but you are a very valuable player here in your own life. You can start using your own personal symbols to create a more sacred, happier, fulfilling life. And that's life that's spelled with the big L, not the little l. A lot of times we forget that when we think of the symbol, that symbol is alive. It has height, depth, quality, tone, frequency, vibration. It has its own life force. The fact that we're just now describing them or understanding them or putting them into a verbal form, symbolic form going into language, and then we create something with it. Sometimes we forget that words are alive. Symbols are alive. The power of your own spoken word can bring you out of the abyss of depression. It can bring you into health when you have had a terrible, terrible episode physically. But we are taught to go outside instead of going into the inner temple, where the sound, the frequency, everything that you need is in here. Now, I know that a lot of times we think that art imitates life. Well, sometimes life will imitate art too. Sometimes we may be like a mirror, a reflection, and we won't remember, is that me over there in the mirror? Or is that just a symbol of who I am? You have to know the real you. In dreams, we see a lot of inner symbols. Now, some people, whether you're a scientist, you're looking for the symbols and the evidence, okay? They will find it if they want to find it. You will see what you are looking for because your intent will help to magnetize it straight at you. If you're looking at your dreams, you can also see signs and omens of things to come. Now, in the old days, the shaman and visionaries, a lot of the leaders would learn to associate symbols with particular things, with particular events, with what's happening around or within a person. And they could prepare the entire group that they associated with. That preparation was also protection. When you have an understanding of a thing, you can cope with a thing. Symbols allow you to access universal wisdom, universal knowledge, and it comes to us in many, many forms, in a lot of sometimes disguises. You have to have a little bit of humor whenever you're looking at your own dreams, because sometimes a bird will just be a bird and we will kind of head trip ourselves. But you will have the feeling when you have that dream and you see a bird that is significant. When the bird turns and looks at you with the one eye and shapeshifts, you will remember what's going on. You will remember what does that mean to you later on. Uh-oh, I saw that guy. Hey, he was here to help me. Okay. Recognize your helpers. Recognize your angels. Open your eyes. Open your senses. Allow yourself to know that you have what it takes to be able to be your own kind of seer or a prophet or a knower of hidden information. Like I said, in the old days, the seers would tell you, okay, now I'm going to tap into this energy stream and I can get a very strong picture of possibilities. And they could predict what's going to happen and be pretty close to right most of the time. Well, now you can see pictures of possibilities. Oh boy. You have to look at where are you standing in your dream, what time frame, what time flow are you in. It's not going to be as easy to predict things. Instead, things are going to be happening fast, 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 fast. Astrological calculations, scientific calculations, put together with an intense desire to know what's happening, has created on a global scale a star clock with symbols and signs, with dimension, with what's going to happen between now and 2012. When we look at calculations, we could sit and evaluate, okay, what did those people do? How did they do that? Now, whether they used their own system or their intuition, they saw what they saw, and they were very accurate. Some of them, so-so, but most were pretty accurate. But if we use what happened in those days and what was around them in their time to totally set our own future, we have problems. Because it's kind of like if you see the Earth here and all the planets associated with it, it has moved to a new parking place. A lot of the elders knew that. But how do you put that into a form where people could understand it? The wise men, the wise women, the teachers knew to always tune into nature, to always tune in to what's going on in the heavens. You are part of that environment. You're not separate from it. Every person here has been affected by the moon. You're here on this planet. It affects the planet and everything on it. You're not separate from it. You may ignore it, but it's working on you. Sometimes it's La Bella Luna with a lot of really great things, and sometimes it's a little bit of crazy making around full moon. But we're being affected by it. Now, when we look at these star clocks and we're looking at symbols on that clock, every one of us looks at timepieces and we think, oh, that's what time it is. All of us are here right now, and I imagine if we were able to take a survey of what it says on each watch, it would be a little bit different, but we're still in the same time zone. As we're approaching 2012, you may find that your feeling about time will change. It will appear to be accelerating. Some people may even believe it will disappear. What I found with my meditation is that since 1992, I have been affected by time in a different way. And I was shown by my guides that there were 4 levels of time. There's lots of them, but anyway, they were showing me the time flow that was really affecting a lot of the clients that I've had. They were being pulled very hard, like a big undertow, into the past on level 1, we'll say. Level 2, not so bad. Level 3 is pretty much life in the fast lane and going for your mocha. Level 4, people very much attuned to the future and going very quickly towards their goal. Some of the people were experiencing a lot of side effects by these time changes. They were not able to feel comfortable anymore in their own body, in their own life, in their own job. Everything was either very, very hectic, or they feel like they are stuck in concrete. They cannot move forward. Part of that is because they feel limited by linear time, and they believe that time is as it always was. Well, now, time has changed, okay? You know, they say the time is now to do things. Look at how the symbols appearing in the sky affect a location. For instance, the aurora borealis. Lots and lots of auroras are being seen, very bright, vivid greens and reds and purples. Look on the ground. Earth changes, earthquakes, volcanic activity, crop circles. Look in your mind. Look at the dreams. What symbols are appearing in your mental sky? Very, very important to understand what are your dreams telling you. Humans react to symbols. We see a stop sign, we stop. Why? Because we learned. We were taught. Stop. You see green for go. We're going to go. The symbols that are appearing, I get so many different contacts from people. So many orbs floating around out there now. Lots of photographic evidence with digital cameras in particular about spirit activity, about the orbs that are floating around. A lot of changes are happening to people, but they're capturing some of the symbols now on film. With photographs, we can see waves of light, and sometimes we can even see a doorway in that wave of light that goes to somewhere else. We're having one after another of these beautiful merging energies, bringing us all together with our dimension, merging into 2 or 3 other ones. And whenever we see these lights floating, or we see the crop circles around, you know, that's really evidence. It's good news, because it's showing that global changes are happening, but it gives us a personal glimpse that, yes, there is a very strong, vivid life force guiding, helping, bringing us into a whole new system of knowing. Some of the things we have learned will literally fall out from under our feet. I feel that we will find that there are some symbols we can rely on and some we cannot. And you will have to personally test these things out in the next 2 years. Chet always asks me to do a few predictions. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail here because we have a lot to do, but one of the things that kept coming to me over and over and over was that the face of the moon may change 2005. If you're looking at the full moon, it would be on the lower quadrant here. And it looks like it will be damaged by what appears to be some sort of asteroid in my vision. Now, I always pray and hope that that does not happen. Whenever I pray for the earth, I pray for the moon too, because I do not see them as separate. I feel like they're kind of part of each other. But anyway, what I saw was that if the face of the moon is impacted, And what we have always found was God's nightlight is on. You know, we can go out, we can depend on that. If over a period of a day, the next night, we look at the moon and it is damaged on her face, okay? It will influence us to a huge degree. What I was told to tell you is that you should gather now those things that are sacred to you associated with the moon in her integrity. Gather now the sacred tools. Gather now the things that you wish to have charged under the full moon before her face is damaged. These things will be very sacred objects for generations to come, because it will hold the vibration, the frequency, and the reflective qualities of healing, of being able to grow crops, being able to birth babies safely. It will have a giant impact on humankind. It will have a big impact on us on a deep level. People will hide from the face of the moon that we once loved to look at. Children will be fearful, but not if we explain to them that this is all part of a progression toward the good. That these things happen, but she is still shining. She is still there. I also saw that the Earth's crown may be coming together a little faster, and the bottom part of the Earth will be going a little bit slower. Now, this can be causing some episodes of earthquakes in 2005 and 2006. I was saying that there are alliances, in particular with Mexico and the United States, that will be very important to help train rescuers for victims who have fallen into cracks in the earth, fissures, and subterranean levels that will be opened up. Now, of course, this is kind of the worst-case scenario. And if these things happen, because I believe that we can all do our prayers and most of these things can be prevented, but if they occur, to focus on blessing the imbalance as it leaves, so it has no foothold to return. It's like it has to go to a different place, a different dimension, and bless whatever the imbalance is out of your reality. Now, this can be on a global scale, it can be on a personal level. If we go into anger, it can create more chaos. If you can visualize your own symbol of God's love and light and be mindful, hold it around you wherever you are. You don't have to be paranoid about it, but remember what's precious to you. What is really fueling your spiritual journey? Hold it within you, visualize it, and be it. Because as we are mindfully stepping, we can take that with us into other dimensions. We ourselves will be what they used to call in the old days time travelers. We will be able to be the new leaders, showing people how you can survive difficulties and how you can thrive with the good things that are coming too. I saw there'd be a United States scientist named Jerry that's going to spill his cup of coffee on a keyboard, and as a result of that, he will discover a new galaxy. He will also discover that there is something traveling forward toward us. And I believe that the angels have a funny kind of way of bringing things up and letting it be lit up for us to know. When we're looking at snakes, we may have a different appreciation of them before the end of 2006. There will be a lot of snakes here and there. And again, they're here to show us something. What is it? Are we being shown in their symbolic form that they are doing a metamorphosis in front of us. I believe we will see snakes that can crawl on legs before the end of 2006. We're going to see a lot of very interesting things, even to the point of a lot of dragon energy, people talking about dragons a lot. Your own personal symbols are sacred. You got them from a sacred place within you. The outer sacred symbols that attract you now need to be paid very close attention to, because you are in a spiritual evolution and a metamorphosis. A lot of humanity is going to find that they will be not only mesmerized, they will be fascinated with things associated with Mars and Venus. We will be directing a lot of energy towards new discoveries in those places. But we need to remember that as we are here, we will be there. Think about that for just a moment. How are you here? Your own symbols can make you or break you. If you think about the Hebrew symbolism, if you think about letters, numbers, those things are alive. If you think about a cross, a 6-pointed star, think about an 8-pointed star with a teardrop in the center. The forms are taking life back. They were always alive, but we're just now understanding that there is a great amount of energy that's being revealed to us. Crop circle intense energy forms, I feel, will be forming in the next 4 months. And England needs to be watched very, very carefully. It will take a lot of fast photography, people quick on their feet, and you may have to smuggle 2 of the pictures out of the country. I see one has a shape similar to a lightning bolt. There is an urgent message being given to each of us to live now, not just a day at a time, to quicken ourselves, to awaken, to live minute by minute, being at your very center, to be the best that you can be, because the world is depending on you. Thank you.